Hi, it's Oplin here, and in this video, I'll be going over why 2026 is the worst year to hire and what you can do about it. Hiring clinicians is generally hard enough, especially if you live near hospitals, rural areas, or simply lack resources. But hiring in 2026 is a whole other battle. The market saturation, the AI tools, the industry shortage, and more. But this video is designed to help you navigate through these tough times so you can get back to hiring with some predictability. But if you're unaware of who I am, my name is Oliver Martin. I'm a recruiter who helps practice owners hire PTs, OTs, and SLPs. And my number one goal with this channel is to escape the corporate recruiter realm and provide you real human-like value that actually works. Now, I'm really excited to get into this one. I hope you are as well. Let me show you exactly how it all goes. So we've discussed how 2026 is the era for not hiring. This is the worst time to hire, especially as a practice owner. Hiring PTs, OTs, and SLPs for practices, it is very hard. It doesn't look like it's getting any better anytime soon. Hospitals, big corporations are just getting bigger. They're just able to offer more. Their resources are just expanding more. And as a practice owner, your resources, the reimbursements are getting more and more limited, allowing you to have more restriction and less freedom to offer the compensation and benefits you want to offer and attract the candidates that you're looking for specifically for your practice, right? So obviously, I'm going to be presenting you 5 out of the line, under the table strategies that you can use to defeat these hospital competitors, defeat this whole narrative around how 2026 is such a nightmare to hire, so you can finally hire the clinician that you're looking for over at your practice that's alignment with the traits, values, skills that you're looking for. So I'm going to present you these 5 strategies, and these are ninja tips that are going to be super hyper effective for your practice as long as you put in the time, you put in the energy, you put in the commitment. I can assure you that you are going to double to triple to quadruple your candidate pool, ensuring you have more candidates and applicants going through the process so you can ultimately find the best hire regardless of this generation. So allow me to get into it. So strategy number 1 is job boards. I wanted to start things nice and basic as possible so we are on the same page starting out as we get into these deadly ninja strategies to put you ahead of 99% of practices and hospitals out there when it comes to hiring. So job boards. Allow me to explain. Job boards such as ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, Indeed, LinkedIn. These are very effective inbound sourcing strategies that will bring in candidates, but it is going to be less predictable compared to outbound strategies, as we will discuss later in the video. So, of course, this is the foundations. You need some sort of job ad in place so you have the word out there, you're spreading the word across, and ultimately candidates, applicants can look at the job ad, they can see exactly what you are offering to the market, what you can do for them, and how the experience might possibly go for your work environment for their needs, right? So job ads, job boards, I do recommend using LinkedIn. I recommend using Indeed. I recommend using ZipRecruiter and Glassdoor. But ultimately, I recommend, if you have the budget, to go all in with Zoho Recruit. This is a cool tool that you can use that automates parts of your hiring process, but specifically helps you and allows you to post your job ad to multiple job boards instantaneously at once without you having to manually distribute each one and pay each separate fee. So I'm not sponsored by Zoho Recruit. I just recommend it. It is a great tool that I use to help for my clients with the job boards. But that is strategy number 1. We need the foundations in place before we can get any active, real engagement and effort in place. You need to have the foundations aligned. So a quick note before we go on to the second strategy, I do highly recommend that you do other strategies, you follow other methods, because just doing this alone is going to put you in the 99% of other practices out there, because this is what most do. They follow a typical job ad blueprint, the same similar template, and that's about it. They pray from there. They may talk with a few coworkers, but it doesn't really get more than that. So just a quick note before we get into the second strategy, this is job boards. I highly recommend you need the foundations in place before you can get into the real nitty gritty, right? So strategy number 2, we're going to be discussing LinkedIn and social media. This is the first strategy in alignment with the outbound methods that I'm going to be showing you in this video. This is very important. This stage primarily involves you having the direct contact information of your prospect, candidate, applicant, whatever you like to call them, and conducting proactive outreach so you can attract them into the job ad so they can learn more about the opportunity, so they can ultimately apply and therefore be interested and enter your hiring process, right? So how does it all work? Well, you need to find the contact information, right? And that all stems from a later stage. That is one of the most important stages because that is the foundation of the outbound systems. But once you have the contact information, i.e., let's say Craig Johnson, he is a PT in the area, and you found his social media, whether that be his Instagram profile or his LinkedIn or his Facebook, you are then going to reach out and conduct outreach to try and message him, try and build a relationship, try and present the job opportunity, and see if he has any interest. Obviously, there are many ways around this. You're going to need a system and process in place so you can continue to iterate and test different copies and different texts and stuff to really ultimately maximize the best copy and text that you're actually putting out there, so you ultimately get the most candidates and people interested, right? But that is a whole other story for another video. But yeah, so this is another strategy how you separate yourself from the rest of the practices, because you are, by now doing real proactive outreach and connecting with actual clinicians in your area, you are allowing a much higher chance compared to just job ads and inbound approaches, because this time you're actually going directly to them. And that is how you find clients as a salesman. That is how you find hires as a practice owner. And that is just how you make it in life. You have to sell opportunities to people, and there's no other way other than going right to them, right? So that is strategy number 2. Now, strategy number 3 is quite similar. In this realm, we're going to be entering SMS, so whether it be a phone number or WhatsApp, and emails. So this is a different type of approach to the outbound systems, where you're going to be still conducting proactive outreach and trying to get the attention directly of clinicians in your city, whether that be a PT, OT, or SLP, but through a different channel. Now, this is different. You're going to need different sourcing tools. We'll get into it a little bit later in the video, but you're going to need different tools to get these different contacts, because these are what we like to call more personal contacts. As I said, emails, especially personal emails, but work and personal emails in this category, as well as the numbers, which would obviously be the personal number, right? Now, this revolves around the same principle. You're contacting them directly, but through just different channels. So rather than it being a social media platform where it's a little less cold, you are actually now directly in their personal line or email. So it is a bit, I wouldn't say riskier, but it is a bit more, a lot more care has to be put in here. You got to really ensure that what you're putting is not going to be too alarming or invasive, or coming across as like, somewhat a little bit, intruding, that kind of stuff. So you got to be careful, more careful here compared to social media, because this is a more personal approach. But if you really want to hire and you really want to escape this nightmare of a generation of 2026, then you're going to have to take serious approaches. And it all starts with texting, emailing, leaving voicemails, and calling, right? So this is a huge strategy that you must follow for your practice if you're serious about hiring. Now, strategy number 4 is a little bit different, and I'd like to say it is a little more in the middle between outbound and inbound approaches. Now, this is nurturing and bringing in new grads from other universities, colleges, PT schools across the country, across your specific area, the closest to you in your state, where you can contact and reach out with fellow teachers and school counseling and leaders of the school, chairman of the school, professors, all that kind of stuff. This is where you're going to be nurturing, and you're going to be building rapport with them so that you can get referrals for new grads who are coming in, who are graduating, who are ready to become new PTs, OTs, SLPs, so you can ultimately bring them on board to your practice. Maybe start with an internship, a mentorship, get them on board so you can ultimately hire them for the long term. Now, this is a great strategy because many experienced providers out there don't leave their jobs. They like where they are, and they're not willing to switch at older ages because it does come across as more risky. They have less leverage there. So new grads, they're young, they're ready to go. They may not last forever, but you don't need people forever, right? You're not going to be a business owner forever. This is for a good time, and you can really teach them a lot. You can increase their experience and be the one to really Show them how PTOT SLP, how the world works of therapy and how it really does work at a practice, and show them just how nicely outpatient does do for them, right? So you can be that practice owner who, you can be that employer who delivers that for them, and you can be the one that keeps them in this area, because a lot of, the industry shortage has been tough. So this is a very important strategy. This, as inbound, shouldn't be the main primary authority or primary priority that you are following, because this is an inbound approach that will take some time of nurturing, but it has asymmetric results, meaning you put a lot of work in or you put a little work in and you get high exponential results. And what I mean by a little bit of work, I mean just little proactive actions over time that leads to bigger results, right? Now, the fifth and final strategy we're going to be discussing, and I like to say it is the most important strategy behind outbound, inbound, sourcing, candidate screening, interviews, all that jazz, all those systems and processes in place for your hiring process. It all stems from this. And if you don't have this in place, then you really are going to be relying on heavy inbound strategies that are quite risky, perhaps, because no matter how good you are at copywriting, no matter how good you are at speaking to the reader, ultimately you're not going to reach as many people, because you are not going to be reaching the providers who are in current jobs, who don't know if the grass is greener on the other side. They're in their jobs, they're not even aware of your practice, they don't even know you exist. You're not going to be able to attract them. You're only going to be able to attract active job seekers that are getting interviewed by multiple practices in your city. But this is how you find the actual candidates in the first place to actually contact to, so you can deliver and distribute your outbound strategies, such as the SMS, the phone numbers, the emails, the social medias, the LinkedIn, as we've discussed, right? So the fifth strategy is, I like to call the area scope down. Now, you're in a city, you're in a region, whether that be Grand Rapids, Michigan, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, or Tallahassee, Florida, or Alexandria, Louisiana. Like, you are anywhere. Might be rural, might be urban, might be suburban, whatever. You're gonna have a radius around you, and even if you're on a border, Mexico or Canada, you're gonna have a radius around you of the locations. You might be on the water, but you're going to have a radius, whether that be 5 miles, 10 miles, 50 miles, etc. You're going to scope out the radius near you, and you're going to go to the public directories. You're going to go to the state boards. You're going to go to the public social medias. You're going to go to the LinkedIn pages of the community. Anywhere that you can find that relates to the cities, the municipalities, the counties near you, and you're going to find as many different accounts as possible, many different directories, boards, all that stuff. You're going to look for that. Now, when you find that, you're going to find area specific boards, directories that are going to be tailored to your specific location, right? Now, from there, you are going to have access to different therapists, licensed PT, OT, or SLP, whatever you're looking for. And if you're lucky, you're going to be able to have some sort of contact information on these boards. You're going to have the name, you're going to have the license number, and fingers crossed, you may have an email or a number or an address, right? Obviously, the address, we won't need it unless you're doing letters, which is a whole other story, right? But for the sake of this video, you're going to likely get contacts. And if you don't, you can use tools like Apollo, Losha, you can use tools like ZoomInfo, and those kind of stuff that do enrich contacts based on public information. But for the sake of this, you are going to have different names that are going to be popping up on these directories in your area. Now, what you're going to do with these names is you're going to find the contact information, and then you're going to deliver on strategy 1 and 2 of the outbound approaches, where you're going to be connecting directly with practice owners in the cities, or as I should say, providers in your city, in the areas, in the cities around you, and you're going to be conducting the proactive outreach, right? So this is where you're going to be getting the contact information so you can actually deliver and talk to these people, right? This is how you bring in candidates. You need to do a proactive approach rather than just doing nothing, sitting back with an Indeed ad. It's not going to work, right? So that is it. That is the 5 strategies. That is how you do it. You need the foundation. You need the outbound approach, so you're directly communicating with these clinicians in your city, in your area, in your municipalities. And then you need to have access to the future, which is the new grads, the universities. So you're ultimately having a presence everywhere, right? Obviously, social media, inbound presence, that would also help. But for the sake of this video, we're going to keep it at job boards, right? So that is how you do it. You have the foundations, you have the outbound systems, and you have the future systems for new grads, right? Now, that is how you do it. That is the 5 strategies of how you separate yourself from 99.9% of practices across the country so you can finally hire regardless of this era. Now, I hope you enjoyed this. I know this video has been a lot, but what I want to say now is there is a funnel down below. If you want to click it, that's fine. If not, I don't really care. It's up to you. It's your call here. But I'm going to sell you something. I help practices take on and hire new PTs, OTs, or SLPs in 60 days, or they don't pay. And from there, we handle the entire process on your behalf, and we are fully entitled to offer a free replacement guarantee if they leave within the 60-day period. We've never actually had to do that. We just put it in for security purposes, but we like to have it there so you have more confidence that we can find you the right clinician, right? Now, you can do this to get the time, the location, the money, the freedom, all that stuff that you're looking for, all that jazz that you're looking for in a practice owner, so you can do better stuff and move on, right? Because you love treating, and it's hard to balance hiring, marketing, all that jazz. So that is our job, right? But that is the shameless plug out of the way. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, comment, all that good stuff if you enjoyed it. And I will see you in the next one. We will be back next week, and I'm going to show you a new, different strategy around a completely different thing in this industry that you're going to love. Now, I appreciate you hearing me out. If you apply these 5 strategies, you're going to separate yourself from 99.9% of practices out there. Now, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.